Native 59. Finally, it's here. I'm so excited. I've been watching this for the past 2 weeks, and yesterday, I didn't even know it. It was here. So, pretty excited about this. So let's check it out. Let's look at what this thing has. So, this was released. This blog post was released yesterday. And the first thing that it talks is hooks. So hooks is a pretty big introduction in React 16.8. Basically now you can, instead of using classes, you can use hooks to add state and side effects such as lifecycle methods to React. So you have that in React Native now. So hooks is the future of React. And now we can do it in React Native. And also, they've updated the JavaScript core for performance gains in 64-bit support in Android, which means that Android now can use 64-bit support, which is kind of a big issue for React Native because up to this time, we only had 32-bit support. So I am curious in the future of how big this JavaScript core is. I don't know if it's going to be like something that's much larger. I'm hoping that this update would give us a really good Android performance for React Native. And there's a big update with Metro Bundler. So Metro Bundler is the bundler that runs the development JavaScript bundle for React Native. So when React Native launches, it actually fetches all the JavaScript from a 8081 port in development mode. So now you have this inline requires. If you set this to true, it will improve the performance quite a bit, but I believe it does break some things. So we'll see how this goes. So when you have a 60 React Native 59 project, we'll set this to true and we'll see the performance difference. I don't know if I want to make that in this video, so we will see. The lighting is not so good. Okay, all right, this is better. This is better, okay. All right, what's next? Next thing, lean core is underway. So one of the biggest complaints was that React Native is just too big. It has all the packages in one big package, and you need to use this whole thing, which makes it very, very cumbersome to work with. So there's a lot of effort into splitting it into different repos so you can just grab only the things that you need. So in this case, we see that async storage, image store, mask view iOS, netinfo, slider, page view Android, all these things got moved to React Native community and is also being maintained by the community instead of Facebook. So that's something that's cool. CLI improvements. So it looks like the CLI now is, so this is targeted towards developer friendliness. So it looks like logs have much better format. And you can see that the old one takes 1.5 seconds. The new one takes like 0.5 seconds. So it's like 3 times faster for the CLI. So we'll see how this turned out. And apparently upgrading in React Native is always a pain. So to upgrade, there's a command called rn-diff-purge, which is very interesting. So instead of using React Native git upgrade, which has been broken for a long time, they're going to use rn-purge, and in the future you can use this React Native upgrade command to upgrade. So we'll see how that goes. There are some breaking changes with Android if you're integrating into existing Android app. It looks like the Android manifest XML file needs to be changed. The theme value in app compact needs to be updated. So the themes needs to be an app compact theme. And that's it for the blog post. And here, if we look at the change logs, we see that there's more stuff that's Android specific, iOS specific, changed, stuff that's changed, React Native community CLI. And we see two breaking changes. One of them is the HTTP client provider. So it replaces this deprecated replace OK HTTP client. It replaces the view helper. So the view helper is deprecated now to use view compact, which is what that blog post is talking about. What else? Target SDK version is now v28. Time Picker Android has flow type definitions. Moved iOS build cache directory from .rncache to librarycaches.com.facebook.reactnative.build. Okay, not sure why that's important. And then these views has now been deprecated and is going to be moved. So in the future, these things will be removed, and your app could load faster if you don't need to use those modules. Yes. So keyboard avoiding views. So this is like a very contentious issue because I have had working with it and it just doesn't seem to work, and it's something that's very frustrating and apparently difficult to fix too. So keyboard avoiding view now shows the correct height after keyboard is toggled. So we'll see how that works out. What else? Display name, virtualized list, flow types, layout issue with swipeable quick action button. So it's got tons of things that's changed in this release. So pretty excited about this. This is good stuff. Like, so we're already 7 minutes into the video. So let me know if if you want to see 59 in action. We can actually build a sample project using 59, or we can actually do both. We can have a sample project in 59, see if these things are actually performance better, and then what we could do is we could also have a 58 project. We upgrade it to 59 and see what are some differences there. So both things are super interesting. Okay, and also I have found a Reddit post that's about React Native from the React Native team. This is like super interesting. So the React Native team is actually on this Reddit post, and there's one thing that's really interesting, which kind of mapped the future of React Native, and this is something that's particular interest to me because I'm a React Native developer, and it also speaks to what sort of mobile development future that's going to be. Because if React Native is going to be the framework of choice in mobile development, then it's going to very tightly tied to this future. So 2 days ago, React Native team, they said React Native future is going to be in 2 phases. So what is the first phase? The first phase is React Native as a native framework for bridging the React paradigm to any native platform. So, allowing React to move to any native platform, so more than just iOS and Android. So the beginning of this is going to be Fabric, which is the things that I've been talking about a lot, and Turbo modules, making React Native synchronous. And that's going to be less opinionated, more interpretable, and more general purpose. I'd expect React Native to be able to support any native mobile, desktop, and AR platforms. So basically, with the React Native re-architecture and the new possibilities and the new libraries people are going to be built on top of the React Native re-architecture, that's going to be completing the first phase, where React Native is strong enough to be able to build mobile apps in a declarative way, like how React is envisioned. Before I move on to the second phase, it's important to understand what we're trying to accomplish with React Native. We're trying to bring React to the native interface user development. That's right. We think React strikes a very good balance between expressive, intuitive developer experience and flexibility for framework authors to provide good performance and interfaces. Okay? So, first phase is the re-architecture, is the successful completion of the re-architecture. I think that's going to take at least 2 years for that to happen. At least 2 years. Because part of the problem with Uber and Airbnb is that they couldn't just get over the first phase. So hopefully the re-architecture addresses these problems that these company faces. And the second phase is that they see that React Native returning back to React, because right now there are some differences between React and React Native. So this part is kind of like a long-term vision. So this is probably like a 5-year plan. So what are the differences between React Native and React, and how can we bring these things together so React Native is going to be much less different than React? It's going to be really, so right now it's more of a learn once, deploy everywhere. The second phase is going to be truly write once, deploy everywhere. So this is interesting. I see the second phase truly become accessible if React is still going to be the de facto web front-end framework. If React is still going to be relevant for the next 5 years, then completing the second phase will be meaningful, right? The biggest differentiator between React Native and Flutter is that Flutter doesn't support web. You know, they have a Flutter for web, but nobody build webs using Flutter. They use React. And if they're going to be using React, if they're going to build mobile apps, they're going to use React Native. And that's why a lot of companies are using React Native. But the performance these days for React Native is not as good, and that's what the first phase is trying to achieve. You know, if we have a strong enough, if React Native is strong enough to truly be able to use the declarative React way to build mobile, it's going to bring some great development speed improvements, as well as really changing the culture of how companies build mobile apps. So I think cross-platform is the future, and if React Native is not there, probably Flutter is going to be there. So I see the two big rising stars in the future is React Native and Flutter. But to what extent React Native is going to be successful first depends on React, and also depends on the React Native architecture. And it also depends on teams' culture. You know, can mobile developers get along with web developers? What is React's place in a company that's going to be integrating React Native into its existing mobile applications? It's easy for a greenfield application to React Native, But you'll always run into problems where React Native is not going to be powerful enough, and you need to have some native capabilities. And then you get into, oh, okay, now we're in a brownfield application. I think brownfield application is inevitable, but what is the exact interface that connects React Native to native? That is still remains to be unseen, and that is my work for the next 2 years. So I think the future is great, but beyond 2 to 3 years, it's difficult to see where this is. In the short run, the first phase is going to be dependent on Fabric and Turbo modules. Yeah, it's a 15-minute video. First longest video, longest time.